but I grow as everything happens. Now, Akeem Blake, no relation to Johan Blake, he has most of the upsides right now, and by virtue of where he finished this year in the World Championships, I believe he made it into the final. Let me double check that because I believe he made it into the final um, this year. Where is his name? Akeem Blake. Yep, he was. No, he got fourth in that 4x1, and he went on to NACAC and was first in the 100 meters in a 9.98. Not sure where he finished in that World Championships, but for me, the upside with Akeem, he does have a good team around him over there at Titans with Freitas, Michael Freitas, because Michael Freitas, is a very business savvy guy, and I like how he maintains and controls what's going on in his camp. So I think that just by being there, Akeem is going to do very well for Team Jamaica, and we'll let you know if we give him the Athlete of the Year, Track and Field Athlete of the Year. But more interestingly, for everyone over the last couple of years, since Bolt has left, is our ladies. Now, the Jamaican ladies, we got Shelly Fraser Price over the 100 and 200. You got Shanika Ricketts in the triple jump. You also got Sherika Jackson 100 and 200. You know, some people have said that this has been Shelly Fraser's biggest, best season. But I will defer, and I will defer on that regard because before this season, even though Shelly Ann won the 100 at the Worlds and she also won the 100 in the Diamond League, before that, back in 2013, I believe, 9 years ago, she actually did a lot more. She won the 100 and the 200 at the Diamond League as well. And she also won in the 100, 200, and the 4x1 at the World Championships. So for me, that was her best season in terms of her accomplishments. Now, she didn't break a world record or anything, but she did run a series of 10.6s or sub 10.7s, which is what makes her season really stand out for us, right? But I still wouldn't give it to Shirley Ann Fraser Price. The reason why Shanika Ricketts is on there because she got a silver medal at the World Championships, and she really maintained her form during the Diamond League series as well, placing in the top group, and that's why Shanika Ricketts is on there. Now, Sharika Jackson is one person I call Action Jackson, and the reason I call her Action Jackson, you could always account on her to do some spectacular things, especially over 200 meters. The first thing is in the 100 meters, she lost that race, but she came back so strong in the 200 for one of the most fabulous races that we've seen in a while over 200 meters, over that half lap event with that 21, I believe it was 21 45 or 54, whatever it was a spectacular time. And so we're going to look into who gets it. Is it Sherika, Shanika, or Shelly, or for the women, or is it Johan, Akeem, or Oblique? But for me, I will definitely give it to Akeem Blake and Sherika Jackson, if you ask me. Those are my athletes of the year. All right, because they really did a great thing. Seville is the one who made it to the finals. There you go, and narrowly missed out in the bronze medal. Thanks for that. But the biggest upside on the men's list is Oblique Seville. I still think it's Akeem Blake, Alicia. I still think it's Akeem Blake. Um, because I just like his surroundings. The thing with Oblique, I just think that like I said before, he does have some maturing to do, right? So I kind of cross the two in terms of what they accomplished in the year, but that's fine. But Oblique to me is it's going to be both of them right now in the immediate future. I'm not seeing anyone else right now, even though we have the young man Nkrumah, Bajwaji Nkrumah, who is at Kingston College right now. He didn't take the bait and go into the into the professional ranks. He decided to return to Boys and Girls Championships after running that 10 flat, which he's fine. It's okay for him to make his decisions how he wants to make them. But I still believe that he has the upside as well to coming into and being a part of that three. Back when just a couple years ago, we had Blake, Bolt, and Asafa as a big three. I think our big three coming out of this group right now is Akeem Blake, Oblique Seville, and Bourgeois and Nkrumah. But I think Bourgeoisie really has to make a decision as to where he wants to go with the sport. I don't think he knows if he wants to go professional or this is just a high school thing for him, or he wants to go more into it and do just high school and college. And I'm not sure what he wants to do. But what is going to really show us where Bourgeoisie and Krume is what happens during December. And here's why I say that in Jamaica, they have some meets coming up, and we're going to see if Bourgeoisie actually enters and runs for Kingston College when they start running some of those early meets. If he does not run some of those early meets, something is going to happen in January, which may not be that he's going to finish his years at Kingston College like he said he is. So I'll be interested to see exactly how that plays out. Now, but I still think the upside for me is Akeem Blake. I just really like his improvement ever since he got into those pro ranks. But that's why we have this type of discussion. It's open discussion and so forth. But Sharika Jackson, I don't think anyone want to argue with that. Sharika Jackson, she has really put her stamp in the events that she has come down from, down into. Um, is with Sharika coming down from the 400, I think that is her upside because she has the ability and she has a strength. She's fast. She was fast from before, and she is primed right now. Once she fixes that start, once she really fine tunes that finish, but I think her best event is actually the 200. Even though she keeps improving in the 100, if you were to go for a event that she could really master and put everybody to shame, I think it's the 200. And she showed us that in a world class field at the last World Championships, she severely destroyed that field, right? Of course, yes, Alicia, I definitely agree. Akeem has a bright future as well. But times ran this year. Seville is ahead. Yes, Seville has the faster time of 9.86, and I believe Blake is 9.92. But you see, that's probably why I still kind of feel like Blake has the upside. But it is what it is. We'll see. They will show us what they have made of on the track when next year starts, and they have another set of championships coming up in 2023. I believe it's another World Championships coming up next year, and in 2024 we have the Olympics. Of course, it's going to be a mega bash when those guys hit the track. Now, shifting gears from the athletes of the year. Uh, is something that I consider to be very dear to me, right? There is this idea right now, okay? There is this idea right now, and there's something I need to show you guys, okay? So there's this practice of granting contracts to high school athletes, and it's been going on for years. But it's now been placed on a greater focus recently with several young up and coming athletes leaving high school early to join the professional ranks. Some of us will say, what say you? Do you think that's a good idea for them? Just put it in the comment section. Let me ask you if that's a good idea. But John Muir, a former Jamaican athlete, he's still very active coaching right now. I believe he's down at San Diego. Um, he has this. His history is right there. We got this. From the 1987, he has a bronze, and the Pan Am Games he has a bronze. He has a couple of bronze in there. Commonwealth Games, Pan Am Games, and World Championships. And if my memory serves me right, he also made the finals of the 100 meters at the Olympics or the World Championships. But regardless, he has something, and he's telling the shoe companies right now, right, that they should back off from offering the kids contracts to go professional. What are your thoughts on that? You could share a comment, make a comment in the comment section wherever you're watching from, or you could give me a call, leave a message at 754-200-1696. My thing with the offering of monies to these athletes, to these student athletes, and I call them student athletes because that's exactly what they are. It definitely, to me, it hurts the sport and it hurts the athletes more than it helps them. And I believe John was making a statement that these athletes, right, they lose focus. A good bit of them will lose focus because now they're focused on making money, right? And there is nothing wrong with making money, right? But here's what John had to say from his article in the Gleaner earlier today. It says, as soon as some of these young athletes see the money, the hunger is gone. They do not put in the work because things have become easy. They are now living good lives and driving nice cars. And this is why we're not seeing a lot of our young senior athletes coming through. That was his opinion, right? Now, that's his opinion, and he's entitled to it just like as you are. But I believe there's a lot of merit to what he's saying. Because if you remember a couple years ago, I believe it was there was something going on. Maybe it was one of the athletes in the Racers Track Club who said something regarding Coach Glenn Mills. And coming to his defense was Usain Bolt. Coming to Coach Mills's defense was Usain Bolt. And what Usain said was, guys are complaining about the program, but they're not showing up to practice. They're showing up late to practice, or they're not practicing as hard because they get comfortable. So that's what Usain was saying, right? So to now see John Mayer, a veteran of the business and currently coaching, to make a statement like this, as we've seen the likes of the Clayton twins go pro right out of high school, right? And we've seen a couple more go straight out of high school into the professional ranks. You know, in recent times, Javon Minzy was one of them. But in his statement, he also says that maybe one will make it. But let's look at Javon Minzy for a second. And this is why, and many of you will disagree with me on this, and that's fine. Javon Minzy officially, legitimately made the Jamaican, I believe it was Olympic or World Championships team one year when Bolt was granted a medical exemption. I wrote an article to the Observer to say that um, Minzy should have been given that 100-meter spot and just leave Bolt in the 4x1. But of course, John Public says no. Jamaica has extended best team and blah, blah, blah. But I look at it from a bigger perspective. What message are we actually sending when athletes legitimately make the team, but you have a rule that protects some bigger named athletes or some athletes who couldn't make it to the meet that particular day? I think we need to get rid of that rule because since then, Javon Minzy, who had left high school and go straight to pros, we haven't heard anything from him, right? He hasn't made a team in terms of a flat 100 meters. So with Javon Minzy, he would have missed out on a lot of opportunity. If you look at what Chris Taylor has done, he has gotten himself back in the good graces of the track and field officials, track and field meet directors, by virtue of placing in his two finals from the Olympics last year and this year's World Champs. So that is going to do a lot for Chris Taylor's career in terms of earning potential, right? So we have to look at that again, you know. So when you think about it, right, there is a lot at stake when an athlete does not transition and make it into a final or make it out on a national team. It's really um, bust or you make it, right? And if you don't make it, you are bust. And that is what you'll find happening to a lot of the athletes who leave high school early or leave high school and don't go to a college route. And the reason why a college route is good because you're not under that pressure of the gun, the starter's gun, the coach's gun. Everybody's, coming at you when you're a professional. But when you are in high school or still in college, you could work your way through the system and you could actually determine if this is really where you're supposed to be. So I agree with John in saying that athletes need to stay. And I see Alicia also agrees that athletes should finish high school unless they are showing the potential to be generational type athlete like Bolt and Sidney McLaughlin. And I was going to make that point too, especially about Sydney. Because when you look at Sydney at 16 made the Olympic team, I believe was a semifinalist, but still went back to finish high school. And then after that, she went to University of Kentucky, where she did at least 1 year, won the NCAA championship. And then she turned pro. And this young lady is 21, now has a world record. She's married, and she has the Olympic title and the world champs title, right? And this young lady just turned 21. So when you look at her body of work, and as you said, Alicia, the key thing is you have to have that type of talent that is phenomenal. You can't just be a regular athlete running 10-1 or 20.8 in high school, or 46 seconds in the 400 in high school for boys, or like 11-2 for girls in the 100. You have to show that you have what it takes. And the matrix gets a little bigger because you have to also look at the body of work that they've done while they were in high school. A lot of the big name high schools, the reason why most of those athletes don't matriculate or do well outside of high school is because they've done a lot of work during high school. They did not limit themselves to the 100 or the 200. They ran 1, 2, 4x1, and some of them run the 4x4, sometimes unnecessarily. Case in point, Michael Ahar from Calabar. He didn't have to run the 4x4 back in, must have 2015 or 14, when Calabar won champs by like a million points, right? Sometimes these coaches have to make that decision. Now, going back to John Mayer's article, what he said, the thing that stood out, he was like, maybe that money from the sponsors, from the people throwing out money at the athletes to become professional, they should put that money back into programs at the schools and to help the athletes in that regard while they're still in high school. The only problem, and that's probably the only differ that I have with John on this one, because the issue is the companies, shoe companies, whatever type of company that's looking to sponsor or sign an athlete, right? The problem is those people are looking for a return on what they invest in. The problem is why they don't invest more money into the school system, I would believe, is because when you look at what happens at even just from the stadium level, right? Every athlete wants their statue at the national stadium. Every athlete wants their bust somewhere in that national stadium. Now, this may sound corny to some of you, but there's a saying that says, ask not what some could do for you, but what you could do for them. And I think that is what needs to occur for Jamaica's track and field to really reap what it can. Because a part of the problem is the national stadium is only filled once a year, and that's at boys and girls champs, right? Except when the reggae boys are playing, like, I don't know if the stadium actually gets like sold out like champs. I don't think there's any event that sells out the stadium like champs. So what I'm getting at is if you have a stadium that could hold 30 something thousand people, but you're not constantly filling it, what is it, or why should these sponsors who want the athlete to wear their gear to represent their brand internationally, why should they give it to them to the high school when it's only once a year that you're really going to see anybody seeing your product, trying your product, or anything of that nature? So these companies are looking at how do they get their money back? How do they justify how much money they just spent in the program? So I would put my money on an athlete if I was a corporate person, if I was going to make that decision. Yes, it's going to take probably 3, 4, 5, 10, maybe 20 of them I'd have to throw some money at to see which one is really going to matter, not matter, but which one is really going to pan out on the world scene, on the Olympic scene, on what impact they're going to actually have on the sport beyond their junior level. And that's where the money really makes it. I'm gonna tell you right now, the people who sponsor Chris Taylor, they're getting their money back right now because he made 2 finals, and because of that, you start seeing him popping up in Diamond League meets. He's gonna start popping up on some meets, in Europe and so forth, because now he has the name of Olympic finalist and world champs finalist, so it makes for a good card for the race. Kind of like a Vernon Norwood. He may never ever win an Olympic title, but he's always there. And he's going to give you that 44 high, that 45 mid in a race. He's going to make the race competitive. And that's what these sponsors are looking for. and there's not much to be gained from putting money into some of those school programs, except to say you sponsor the school. Now, if you look at what the stadium can offer, that is where I think we're not really expanding the vision. Because if you look at stadiums in the U.S., and I hate to compare a first world country to a third world country. I don't know how you do it, right? But Jamaica money and American money are two different money. Let's put it that way. Let's put it in the colloquial expression. Two different money. So in America, when you watch basketball, when you watch any one of those major sports, each of those stadiums has a corporate name to it. The national stadium does not have a corporate name to it. Because why? Those stadiums in America, the corporate name is branded because they fill those stadiums even in the regular season. Some of the worst teams in some of these professional sports in the US, they will fill those seats, even the worst of worst teams. We don't have that culture. We don't have that system right now in Jamaica. So that's one of the problems that I'm seeing. So it's time to call on the Bulls and their Safas instead of asking for your bus to be at the national stadium. Invest in the national stadium. That's my call to those who have made a fortune out of the sport wearing the colors of Jamaica. Mind you, you guys have represented the country well, and I applaud that. I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong, but there is more that can be done. So instead of coming on social media and saying how hard the athletes have it, Mr. Powell, right? Which I don't think anybody took you seriously because someone can't get money for God training and so forth, right? Why don't you turn around and use some of that into the system? For example, even the timing system in Jamaica when they go to the when we host the trials, it is so hard to get results in any sensible time, right? I'm pretty sure if I go check the results now, there's probably still one or two events that's not yet uploaded, right? So we need to fix those things. We need to fix the signage. We need to fix the sponsorship level that goes into the stadium by creating events that can fill the stadium. Now you're gonna say, well, Jamaicans can't afford to go there. That's okay too. I'm pretty sure there are people out there who will go because when party I keep, party no. Even Carter say dance all can't stall, right? So for a country who love track and field, love good them sports, we need to figure out a way to fill that stadium regularly to get more corporate sponsors. And I don't blame the airlines and so forth who took their signs down because back in our days, the kids just used to beat those signs down till they fell apart, right? And that's where it's at. So I just wanted to say that, John Mayer, you're on the right path in terms of getting the athletes up. They should go to school because there's a lot of upside to going to school, especially if you're what I call a rank and file athlete, right? A rank and file athlete, and what I call a rank and file is not a disrespect or anything like that. It's just that we know that not everybody is going to make it to the national team. Not everybody's going to become a champion here or a champion there. Very few will make it to that far. But my time is coming to an end, family. Hope you guys enjoyed the presentation today. This is our first in the series. Join me each and every Friday for the Lead Track and Field podcast. We look forward to having you here to be a part of it as well. And just keep in mind that it is sponsored by D Dribbler Sports, fueling your passion. Get your gear early. And next week we'll talk about some more stuff regarding track and field. This is all track and field, man. Thanks, Joy. We look forward to having you next week, Friday at 7 p.m. for some more interesting topics, for some more interesting track and field gear, for some more interesting track and field insights. One of the things that I know Jamaicans love to talk about is that false start rule. We'll look at the false start rule next week and some other things in the 30 minutes that we have. And also look out for the scholarship series that we're going to be hosting. So thank you guys very much for logging in. Keep it tuned in. This is the Road to Champs is the Lead podcast in association with Jamaicans.com. And we look forward to having you again next week. You guys have a wonderful weekend. It's going to be much, much fun. Thank you.